Hey, today, if we don't like what somebody says or does, we pick up the biggest rock we got. What is that? Thread of hell. We hit people right smack between the eyes with it. If Jesus tells us if somebody takes something from us, we're to give them more. But what we say is if somebody takes something from us, we pick up that big hell rock and hit them right in the head with it. You know, Jesus never threatened anybody with the hell that we know of today. And a careful study of the Old Testament prophets show expressions of the Assyrians being consumed by fire and burnt to lime. And it was expressions of national judgment upon that nation. The expressions are similar to Jesus' statements in Luke 12:49 that he came to send fire on the land of Israel. This is also the Old Testament basis of Jesus' statement to the Jews in John 15:6. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. Isaiah's language was also similar to that in Daniel 9 or Daniel 7 verses 9 through 12, where Daniel foretold of the judgment of the beast about to overcome the saints of the Most High. He says, I kept looking until thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His vesture was like white snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was ablaze with flames. Its wheels were burning fire. A river of fire was flowing and coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him, and myriads upon myriads were standing before him. The court sat, and the books were opened. Then I kept looking because of the sound of the boasting words which the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and its body was destroyed and given to the burning fire. This scene portrayed the national destruction of the pagan power attempting to destroy the saints of the Most High. This is the same scene described in Revelation 20, verses 11 through 15. And I saw a great white throne, and him who sat upon it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of the things which were written in the book, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead that were in it. And death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works. And death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. And if any was not found written in the book of life, he was cast into the lake of fire. Both of these passages, scenes, depict national judgments against a nation persecuting God's saints. Both have judgment scenes. Both have people judged out of the things written in the books, and both have those not pleasing God in the judgment being cast into the river or lake of fire. This national judgment goes with John's expression of imminence in Revelations 1:3. The time is at hand. In Revelations 22:6, things which must shortly come to pass. In Revelations 22:10, seal not up the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. Those who believe in the early date of Revelation believe these words refer to the destruction of Jerusalem. The ones that believe in a later date of the writing of Revelations think that it refers to the destruction of the Roman Empire. Whichever way it is, whether they refer to Jerusalem or Roman Empire, they refer to national judgment. Fire burning to Sheol, consuming the earth and the mountains. Now, this language is generally associated with fiery judgment at the end of time and hell. However, in Deuteronomy 32, verse 22, Moses said the same about the punishment of God that God would bring on Israel for her idolatry. For the fire is kindled in my anger and burns to the lowest part of Sheol and consumes the earth with its shield and sets fire the foundations of the mountain. This language describes national judgment that caused a nation to vanish. The worm dieth not, and the fire not quenched. This language is generally applied to hell. It's not so used in any of the Gehenna passages in the Bible. In Isaiah 66:24, we read of God's destruction of Jerusalem in the generation when Jesus Christ was crucified. Then they shall go forth and look upon the corpse of men who have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, and their fire shall not be quenched, and they shall be an abhorrence to all mankind. This passage contains nothing about conscious suffering in a hell, much less enduring to the end of time. Yet this is the same kind of language we saw in Mark 9:47-48, the passage where Jesus described the Gehenna with unquenchable fire. In that passage, Jesus said, "It is good for thee to enter into the kingdom of God with one eye rather than having two eyes to be cast into Gehenna, where their worm dieth not and their fire is not quenched." When Jesus spoke those words, the Bible had never used such language of anything other than national judgment. It's easy to believe in a doctrine of hell, but I think that destroys the character of God. It doesn't line up with what the scriptures say. But through translations, bad translations, I think people in their hearts want to really believe this, because it's easy to pick up that big rock of hell and hit somebody in the head with it.